But I promise to you all, there's more to it. Greetings to all. I'm Ishaan from Jayappa House. Let's go to the year 2040. You walk into a store, and instead of picking up a bottle of water, you're grabbing a canister of oxygen. Yes, oxygen, bottled, branded, and priced for convenience. Students no longer carry lunch boxes to school. Instead, they carry oxygen cylinders with a nose strapped to tubes, inhaling something which is now free and seemingly infinite. Sounds absurd, doesn't it? But let me ask you, didn't the idea of buying water in plastic bottles sound equally bizarre a few decades ago? And yet, here we are today, happily flicking out 10 rupees of our wallet for this convenience. Progress, right? Or I ask you, is it? May I request you to please raise your hand if you think getting water in plastic bottle is a sign of human progress. Show of hands, please. I see so many of you believe in this misconception. Let's have a closer look into it. Is it just a bottle, a hollow piece of plastic, or a symbol? A symbol of transformation, a symbol of how we have transformed natural resources into commodities, abundance into scarcity, and convenience into a ticking time bomb. But this bottle is just the tip of the iceberg. Let me paint a bigger picture for you. Imagine a world where the air we breathe, the water we drink, and even the soil beneath our feet are no longer guaranteed. The things which we now take for granted are rationed, branded, and sold back to us itself, only if we can afford it. This is not a plot of a dystopian movie, friends. This is the direction where we are heading, and the choices which we make today will decide if we are writing a tragedy or a triumph. And here's the kicker. This isn't happening somewhere far away. This is happening right here, around this very fort, our home, our pride. For centuries, this fort has stood tall, witnessing empires rise and fall. Yet today it faces one of its greatest challenges, not from invaders or rulers. Today, its enemies isn't the Suris or the Mughals or the Britishers. Today, its enemy is us, our choices, our negligence, our apathy. But what if I told you we can flip this? Think of this fort not as a relic of the past, but as a beacon of the future. Imagine a fort where trees are the towers, birds are the guards, and meadows are the new courtyards. Imagine a sanctuary where nature and history coexist. A space where yesterday's stories inspire tomorrow's possibilities. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the Fort Biosphere, a mission to breathe life into our heritage and transform it into a sustainable paradise. The Fort Biosphere has four game-changing pillars, namely rewilding, water conservation, waste management, and energy conservation. Now the question arises, why are we doing this? We are doing this because history deserves a future and we deserve a home where nature and heritage come together. It's not just about saving the fort, it's about saving ourselves. The Fort Biosphere isn't just a project. It's exciting, it's ambitious, rather, I call it a revolution, and it is happening right now. So I ask you all, are you ready to be a part of this transformation? I know many of you might be skeptical about it, and that's okay. Today, my mission is to change that, to ignite a spark in you which burns for something bigger than yourself. Together, we can rewrite the story not as victims of bleak future, but as heroes who had shaped it. The Fort Biosphere had started in the year 2020 by a member board of governors, Mr. Harpal Singh, which is now being carried forwarded by a teachers core committee and students core committee under the guidance of an eminent environmentalist, Mr. Pradeep Krishnan. I hope these pictures are visible to you all. With a show of hands, can you tell me how many of you can identify at least three of them? Show of hands, please. At least two of them? Anyone? Or at least one of them? I see very few hands, and that's great. But now I ask you, are you all familiar with these products? With a show of hands, please. Vico Vajrandanti, Indulekha hair oil, blue tea, and Shank Pushpi. I see maximum of you being familiar with these products, but not with the plants. Here comes the irony. Every day, we casually step over these plants, paying no attention to them, neglecting them. And here's where the fourth biosphere also aims to raise awareness about different aspects of nature. Let me tell you something very interesting. Do you know that a fort has been lately invaded? Not by any dynasty or ruler, but by wild invasive plants. Lantana, Subabul, and Parthenium are the intruders, and we have been removing them ever since. Initially, when I was very surprised to see that we are removing plants, because we have always learned that plants are our main source of survival. Until few months back, when I had learned why did we address them as invaders. These plants had spread like wildfire across the campus, suffocating our native flora and biodiversity. Also, Parthenium is responsible for allergies which causes respiratory disorders, and lantana causes skin irritation. So that was when we decided to fight back, not with weapons, but with the idea of rewilding. Rewilding, the art of returning to nature. In simple words, rewilding means bringing back the native plants of the soil so that nature can take care of itself. A first step to carry out rewilding was to understand a campus, which we did by going through a contour map and by understanding and by doing soil testing. Our next step was to find seeds and saplings of our native plants. We had visited a number of nurseries searching for seeds and saplings of our native plants, but to a surprise, most of the nurseries only had ornamental plants. We had somehow finally managed to gather few seeds and saplings from Madhav National Park and Kuno National Park. Also, we had gathered few seeds from the fort itself and from different reference sites. While we were planting the seeds and saplings to different areas from where we had cleared the invasive plants, we realized how difficult it was for us to find these native plants. And that was when we came up with the idea of having our own native plant nursery. Today, I proudly say that we have more than 2,000 saplings in a nursery, which we not only keep confined to the fort itself, but distribute it across different schools in Gwalior. While clearing the invasive plants, we came across a huge patch of land which remained unoccupied. That was when we saw a vision for the creation of a wildflower meadow. Let's understand what meadow is. Meadow is a huge grassland with very few number of trees. Today, we have more than 80 species of grasses which spreads across an area of 15 acres. Meadow, our living laboratory. Why do I address meadow as our living laboratory? Meadow isn't just a place which relaxes my mind and gives me fresh thoughts. It's a place which teaches me a lot about nature. When you're surrounded by nature and you observe it carefully, you always get to learn. So did I. During my initial visits, I noticed something bizarre. I noticed that few budding leaves had a pigment of red color in them. I was surprised and I wondered what the red pigment was for and where did it disappear after a leaf was mature. The answer to it really fascinates me. The answer is the red pigment acts as a deterrent to insects, which protects the baby leaf from damage. Also, the red pigment protects the budding leaf from the harsh sun rays. One more question which came to my mind was, why only meadow? Why not creation of a garden with dense trees around? The answer to it is, grasses act as better carbon sinks than forests do and absorb a lot more amount of carbon from the environment than trees do because of their dense fibrous rooting system. Creation of meadows had also led to the biodiversity enhancement of a campus, as it had led to the increase in number of plants, insects, and birds. For instance, the number of peacocks had suddenly shot up in a campus after the creation of meadows because the dense bushes acted as a shelter for peacocks to lay their eggs in, where the eggs remained protected from its predators. Ecological succession, a part of a curriculum but it's quite monotonous and difficult to understand until we visually, we practically visualize it, which we do on our phones. So during rain, soil and dust accumulate, which causes the growth of cyanobacteria and fungi. Now these organisms further wither a rock and leads to the growth of mosses and liverworts. On liverworts comes lichens. When we claim that that a campus is pollution free to some extent, lichens are the proof to it. Lichens are pollution free indicators, and it only grows in places where the quality of soil and air is very healthy. On lichen comes the superhero of our natural vegetation, that is Oropitium. Oropitium, also called the rock grass. Oropitium has the superpower to transform a piece of uninhabitable rock into a thick layer of habitable soil. Without Oropitium, we wouldn't have a single plant or tree in our campus. Now, talking about natural indicators, we had spotted two more natural indicators in our campus. That is rat-tailed maggot and banded-eyed dronefly. These organisms indicate the presence of water bodies around. And we had spotted them around the tals. Tals, you must be wondering what tals are. Tals are water bodies of a campus which have been there on the fort for many centuries now. Today, we have 6 tals on our campus with 245 lakh liters of water. It's general human tendency to be careless in the blind usage of water. Mere actions like leaving a glass of water half filled, which is bound to be thrown away, or by leaving the taps open, or by blindly using water for some small chores. We had recently conducted a survey in which we found out that every day 144 liters of water was being left behind in the glasses and jugs of our dining hall. The survey acted as an eye-opener for us for once and for all. The survey had made us realize the importance of water, and we became conscious in the usage of water. Not only this, we have rainwater harvesting in our campus. We have channels built across a campus which collects the rainwater and store them into the tal. The stored water is used for irrigation purposes like watering a sports field and the gardens of our boarding houses. The tals and the water channels build up the second pillar of a fort biosphere, that is water conservation. Coming up to the third pillar, waste management. We have an effluent treatment plant set up behind the dining hall, which processes the waste water, which is used for washing cutleries, and the water and the plant separates the water and the sludge. The water is used for irrigation purposes again, whereas the sludge is used to enrich the carbon content of a soil on which we soon plan to start organic farming. We also have biodigesters and sewage treatment plant behind our boarding houses. These plants processes the wastewater again, and the water is used for irrigation purposes. We have a concept of brown gold on our campus. Brown gold. It's none other than the dried leaves. We collect the dried leaves from all over campus and convert it to a compost, which is again used as a manure. Fourth pillar, energy conservation. This is a huge campus and it requires huge amount of energy to run through. We have solar panels set up on our boarding houses. Also, some of our street lights are powered by solar energy. We are soon coming up with a huge power plant of 350 kilowatt to power our whole campus by solar energy. A serious problem which we face in our fort biosphere is loss of water. We approximately lose 25% of our water by evaporation. We are still researching on how to prevent this loss. But one idea which was proposed by a students' core committee was to have floating solar panels on our tals. The solar panels would prevent evaporation, also generate energy at the same time. The school wants to become more vigilant, caring, and aware about nature. By this mission, we are not only making a fort green, but Gwali green. Our aim is to provide back water and energy back to the society after we become self-sufficient And already we are adding no waste to the society. The fourth biosphere produces warriors, environmental warriors. Our aim is to transform every Scythian into an ecologically sensitive citizen before he steps out of this campus. It's not just about saving the environment, it's about creating a legacy. Our legacy, a legacy in which we will surely take pride, a legacy in which we live in harmony with nature in a fort that is as alive as its history is. With that, I urge you all to think globally but act locally. Thank you.